It is Friday afternoon and I just finished about an hour ago my new stand slash cart for the spindle sander here. What I'm going to do now is, because I don't want to edit that video right now, I just want to keep going out here in the shop. Some days, are shop days, other days are editing days, stay inside. Today it's nice outdoors, but you can't be outdoors because there are too many black flies at this time of the year. So I'm going to refinish my bench top again. I did this about 2 years ago. I sanded off the old finish. The old finish was oil-based polyurethane, and that made the top really yellow. When I sanded it though, I didn't get rid of as much as I would like, so I'm going to try to get rid of the rest of it this time and give it a new coat. So I've already unbolted my vise, so that should come off. Kind of stuck down a little bit. Okay, the last time I did this, I did it and I filmed it on my Red channel. So I didn't think I would film it this time, but I figured, you know what, I'm out here doing it, so I might as well. At that time, I think I made these things too. These plug these holes so that stuff won't fall down. They are not dogs, they're just plugs. I'll stick those over here. So this is like part of my big shop cleanup project and reorganization that actually goes back to last fall when last summer when I started building that miter saw station. I built that, and that got rid of all the junk that was over there. Moved it over there, more tidy junk now, but it looks a whole lot better than it did. I let it sit all winter basically while I did some other stuff. I just worked through it. I'm able to do that because I can ignore stuff like that. And this spring I've already repainted all the walls all the way around the shop, except for the very front wall there where very little of it shows anyway, so that it's all a nice consistent white color. I moved the cabinet here. I covered some of this in the recent video on my Red channel. If you want to go watch that, there's a link in the description. You've probably already seen it if you're here. So work table or workbench here. This is not my ideal idea of a workbench actually. I built this long ago, and it was way different from when it started. It's now looking very nice. When I built this, I actually built this from recycled deck boards that came from my old house. There was a deck off the master bedroom that's up off the ground, and that was rotting. The supports were rotting, but a lot of the deck parts were still good, the boards themselves. So I took those and I had them inside, drying out for nearly a year before I made this bench from it. But there were so many holes and cracks and defects. I filled it up with body filler where I could, and it really looked like shit. So before I came here, which is 4 years ago, I covered the top again with this pine here, and this is maple on the perimeter here to make it look better. And this is where we're at today. But I've been thinking about maybe building a new workbench, something that's a more practical design for what I have in mind. I don't do a lot of this stuff that requires these bench dogs here. I very rarely put a board in here and clamp it down so that I can plane it or do whatever with it, to the point where it would make no sense to have this in a bench that I would build for myself. Likewise with dog holes for holdfast or anything. I would never use something like that because I very rarely work with solid wood in that way. So thinking about a new design for a workbench, and I've come up with a few different ideas, but that's sometime down the road. That might actually be a year down the road before I do it. In the meantime, I need to have this bench looking good, so I'm going to try to scrape off as much of the finish as I can with my new scraper here and see how that works. And then I'll do the sanding. I think I'm going to do all of the sanding with the Random Orbit sander and a 100 grit disc. and a 100 grit disc. But I have the belt sander if I'm finding that I can't get rid of all this yellow. It'll be interesting to see how long that edge lasts on this. I can't recall how many coats of, it was water-based polyurethane that I used to coat it. I can't recall how many coats I gave it, maybe 3. Okay, so what is my perfect workbench? I'm thinking that it would be something that's not quite a workbench, but more of an assembly table, because that's basically what I use a workbench for. The other main thing that I use it for is to put junk on when I shouldn't be. And I would really like to have something that discourages me from doing that. So I was thinking, in the new scheme of things here, that it would be kind of a combination of an assembly table that also acts as an outfeed table for my table saw. It's working good. It's getting rid of all of the finish. I can see that the top is not as flat as it appears to be, which is not a big deal for me. I don't need the top of the workbench to be absolutely perfectly flat for most things. It'd be nice if it was, but I don't think it's a deal breaker. One thing I would like to have on the new workbench is all hardwood on the surface. Even if it's just a hardwood plywood, as in Baltic birch. Because I find that the pine is just too soft, it dents in too easily, and then it starts to look not good on camera. It's mainly on camera that I'm concerned about this top. Because I mean, if I wasn't making video, I wouldn't be out here doing this today, believe me. I leave the workbench as it is. It's just, with it this yellow, it looks not great on camera, so improve upon it here. See, if you have it as an outfeed table for the table saw, then it has to stay clean. Otherwise, you know, the stuff that's on there will get in the way when you're trying to cut something longer. Okay, not bad. The scraper worked out well. Got all this stuff taken off. Swept into the garbage can, and then I can switch to the random orbit sander just to see how well it's taking off. What I can see that the scraper did mainly was kind of flatten out any undulations that there were in this. That's the biggest problem with using solid softwood for anything like this, especially stuff that's not of the best quality. It kind of moves all over the place with the seasons, and you really can't predict how much it's going to move. When I built this, I made the top and the bottom absolutely perfectly flat, and it took a long time to do that. And over those years since, it's definitely changed, that's for sure. The other way that I was thinking about was to make it similar to the way my outdoor workbench is, and that's all slats, and it's about half open actually, so that being outdoors, rain can just pass right through it, of course. But the other thing is, you can just clamp anything down to it wherever you want. You just reach down with the clamp and clamp it to the nearest slat. So that has a lot of appeal for me as well, because I like that idea. I like to be able to just clamp whatever I need to, wherever I need to, right on the top, and hold it down so it can't move. I think that this is not doing it aggressively enough. I'm going to switch to the belt sander and at least get it down to the point where it's getting rid of this yellow, because this is not cutting it. I've only got 100 grit discs. That's the roughest I have. So try the belt sander. But once again, the biggest issue is keeping it clear of junk. And I originally thought that by building that chest of drawers that I have under the workbench that I have now would solve that problem, it would give me a place to put the junk. Unfortunately, I fill that with junk that I never use and still can't bear to throw out. Okay, looking good. I got it all sanded. at least as much as I'm gonna do, because that was a lot of sanding. I did belt sanding with an 80 grit disc until I got rid of all of the yellow. So that's all gone. I also went around the edge, because what I found was that the perimeter of the workbench was actually higher than the middle, so it's kind of cupped in. And I don't know if that was from shrinkage or whatever. Anyway, I straightened that up, and I used my square, which is over there, but I'll use another straight edge. And I went around and I checked how flat the top was, relatively flat anyway. And it looks pretty good. Good enough for me anyway. So what I'm gonna do now is finish wiping it off, and then I can give it the first coat of water-based polyurethane and let that dry overnight and give it another coat tomorrow morning. I should be able to get 2 coats on it tomorrow, so it'll be finished by tomorrow night. Okay, I've got my stuff here. There's not much left in this can, and what's in there might be dirty, so I'm gonna filter it. I've got my old buddy here, the mason jar that I had so much trouble getting the lid off before, and had so many helpful comments from people on how to either prevent that or to help me get the lid off. Am I complaining? No, I'm not complaining. It's just funny. I'm the guy making the videos. I'm supposed to be the expert. I'm supposed to be the guy giving the advice. You guys are supposed to be nodding your head respectfully. So I'm going to filter this into the mason jar. And of course some is leaking out of the side because the filter is too big for the bottle. And of course the bottle is not big enough for what I have. However, that did filter out a lot of the dirt. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the filter in the can, and I'm going to refilter it from the bottle here. And since that took out the majority of the dirt, I should be good to go. This is just a workbench after all, not a floor in a 5-star hotel. Just using a regular brush. You're supposed to use foam brush to put this stuff on. I don't know if I commented on this in the first video where I refinished this top, or if I commented on it whenever I've used this before. But the foam brush, I don't know why they would recommend that, because it really works poorly for applying this stuff. I use a good quality regular paintbrush for, for oil and for latex paint. So it's I guess it's a synthetic brush. It's not a pure bristle one. And I have had nothing but excellent results with it. It's not bubbled up. The other thing is they say is you're not supposed to shake this. I've shaken this like crazy and never had a problem. Now I'm painting this here, and the pine is coming out a little bit yellow, which it will do because it's pine. This is red pine that I had for my floor in the family room in my last house, and it goes like that. So that's all I can do, but at least it's a nice even color. It's not like splotchy like it was before. So big improvement there. Also, I think the top is a lot flatter than it was before. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish this up, and maybe I'll put a picture at the end here where I'm speaking just to show how it looks when it's finished. Otherwise, you can tune in to other videos that I'll be doing in the future where you'll see the finished result, because I'll be working at it.